Welcome back to your soon-to-be favorite podcast. I'm Angelica.
And I'm Kelsey.
And this is
Here We Grow.
What's he selling?
Does that look good?
Does that look good?
Post it on my Facebook.
Post it on my Facebook.
Our cords are tingled right here, just the slightest bit. I can't do it.
Oh, my nose.
What's up, guys? Angelica's choking.
I'm sorry.
Try that again.
Hello.
Hello. What's up, guys?
Hi.
We're
how
back.
are you?
How are you? How was your week? How was your week?
It was
You
in the
You're right here in the
buffalo red shirt,
Buffalo.
buffalo plaid shirt.
You're right here with me. How's your week?
My week was very, very busy. It was the first week of the month, so extremely busy.
Yep.
But it was good. I mean, it went by quickly, and
You know, sometimes you can cut this out if you want to.
uh-oh.
Sometimes I'm at work and I'm like so busy, and then you text me something that like I know you had to do a lot of research on, and I'm like, she has time for this at work.
Like what?
I'm trying to think. There's like a couple things this week where you were like, oh my gosh,
Not
look
this
at
week.
this.
Not this week. Last week. Was the chairs?
Yeah, maybe it was the chairs I'm thinking of.
I think it was the chairs. That was last week.
I'm like, dang, she's just sitting around at work. She doesn't have nothing to do.
Literally, my last week of the month, like unless we have meetings, I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things I could do. Like I could improve some spreadsheets. Like I could redo some stuff.
Yeah.
But like even then, like it won't take long. It won't take a full day
Right.
because I'm literally just waiting on other people. Like the
Right.
last 2 weeks, it's just waiting on
Yeah.
other people. So it's like I can't do anything. There's nothing I can.
Yeah.
Hey, but in the first 2 weeks, I am extremely busy.
So like right now.
Yes. So like
And it's the end of year, right?
yeah. Well, we won't do that until January.
Mm.
Yeah. So it has its balance. Like sometimes I feel bad because I'm like, I'm literally just sitting here not doing anything. I don't have anything to do. But then
Yeah.
I'm like, no, because the first 2 weeks are so busy that I don't have time to do anything else. Like literally sometimes like I'll look down and it's 2:00 and I haven't
Yeah.
eaten anything or I haven't gone to the bathroom or I haven't
Mhm.
taken a sip of water. So
I love that though. I love getting so focused that I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's past lunchtime. And then like it's almost time to go home, you know?
yeah. Like there's this report that we call intercompany and it takes me a day and a half to do and it's so tedious. Like I literally
Wow.
have to look at 2 screens and just like,
Back and forth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can't, like when someone calls my name, like they literally have to wait until I finish because I will lose track.
I actually had a project like that last week where we had to upload drug images to our new software.
Mm.
And so every medication that you might get from the pharmacy has what's called a drug image, which is a very up close photo of the front and back of the tablet. And so that way you can like Google the tablet to identify it basically.
Mm.
Or like in the pharmacy, how it's used is when the pharmacist gets the prescription, they check the product to make sure it was filled correctly. They check to make sure it's the right tablet based off of what the imprint should be on the tablet.
Okay.
So I had to go through 296 images of like the most recently filled prescriptions
Wow.
and name them and put their NDC on, which is like their identification number on the file name so that when we upload them, they'll match to the prescriptions. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. It only took me a day and a half, but yeah, it was very tedious. There's a lot of like looking up the drug image, then copying, pasting the NDC and copying, pasting the drug name.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Control C, Control V. But yeah, work has been very busy for me too. And
Good.
I think we're busy because it's the end of the year. So like people are trying to get into their doctor before their deductible restarts.
Yep.
So if y'all need to get into the doctor, do it now before your deductible restarts in January.
Do it now. Do it now.
And for your prescriptions too. But yeah, it's just been busy. So people are like, why aren't you texting me back? I'm like, I am so busy at work. I do not have time to text people back. Like if it can wait, it's going to wait till 5:00. I don't have the brain capacity to hold what you're talking to me about in text message and the thing that I'm doing at work right now.
Yeah.
But I like that. Like I would rather be engulfed in what I'm doing while I'm at work rather than bored, because then I just want to go home.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there.
And it makes the day go by much slower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chicken. Look, oh my god, we went to the store.
Yeah.
We're gonna make potato soup after this because shout out to Monica at her party. They had potato soup and it like
Knocked your socks off?
Literally. And we were at the store and a man pulls up to where they have the chicken, the rotisserie chickens, and he had 4 kids with them. I'm pretty sure they were quadruplets. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And just one by one, it's chicken. Look at the chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Like, all of them just started, mine.
Yeah.
Chicken.
Chicken.
And I was like, I can't be here right now. I'm ovulating tomorrow. I can't.
And then I told Angelica, I'm like, I didn't even see the kids, but I heard them. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's how Cass says chicken. He goes, chicken? It's almost like with an S, like chicken. So funny.
That was so cute.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Oh, that's cute.
We need to look for a quote of the week. Do you want to look for that while I hook the stand up to the camera because we forgot to plug it into the charger?
Yep.
Okay.
It's like,
look for a quote of the week.
Pause. Also, if you're wondering why I'm in Christmas pajamas, Mario and I just finished taking Christmas photos per Kelsey's photography skills, and they're good. They're juicy.
They're very good. Every single one of them is good. I know you won't use all of them, but they're so good.
Yeah.
Shout out to a iPhone Pro for camera.
Shout out to my Christmas tree. Actually, not really, bruh. Like, you were short in comparison to Mario. What the hell?
Yeah, we tried to do some standing photos, and Mario blocked the entire Christmas tree because he's
too tall.
Over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, we'll get a bigger one next time.
You need like a 9-foot tree. Anyway.
All right, quote of the week.
Quote of the week.
Dear inner child, it's okay if you've built walls to protect yourself, but you can open windows on those walls to let the light in.
Boom. That's great because that's what we're going to talk about today.
Hell yeah.
This is like a very impromptu topic for us. And it was conceptualized because this morning I had a conversation with Travis where I feel like we kind of made a breakthrough with him. And I asked his permission to talk about this already. And he was like, yeah, honestly, you can talk about anything that we talk about on the podcast. Like when it comes to his mental health.
Okay, he was brave, Travis.
He said because 2 things, either, it might help someone who also needs to hear it, or someone might be able to comment something that would help him, like that would give him insight. So we were having this conversation this morning because he decided to try a new medication this week for anxiety. And so he had a appointment with his doctor. And during the appointment, she asked him if he wanted to try counseling, which is therapy, but just in this clinic, it's called counseling. And he said, yeah. And then he was telling me this morning that he forgot to tell the doctor that he would prefer it be a female therapist. And we've in the past have looked for therapists for him and have tried to narrow down to just female therapists because for a long time, like Travis knows himself, like he knows that if he were to have a male therapist, at some point he would shut down with them, like maybe even in the beginning would shut down with them. And he has had issues in the past with like male supervisors at work and stuff who maybe don't show him like the same level of respect that he shows them or something like that, to where it triggers him to just be like, you know what, fuck you. And so I was telling him, I'm like, you never know. You might get a really great male therapist and that could heal so many wounds for you. Like the wounds that you never knew that could be healed.
Yep.
Because we kind of started talking about like what his issue is with men in general. And of course, like a lot of men, they never had their fathers around. And Travis did not have his father around. He would see him, ever so often. And Travis tells me this story all the time about his mom saying to his dad like basically taking his dad off child support and being like, I don't want any of your money. Just come spend time with your child, basically.
Like Travis remembers that.
Mm-hmm.
His mom
saying like, don't give me any more money. Just come spend time with him. And Travis's dad was the type who got multiple women pregnant, who he was in the military for a while, and then he would have like jobs here and there, and then basically his whole life he was a drunk. So like it was hard for him to keep a job because he was drunk all the time. And so then he'd have just like odd jobs basically. And so you know, you can assume the type of pain that would cause a young boy, especially someone who like is a good guy. Like Travis is a good guy. He's a good man. He's a good person. Has always wanted to be a good person. He tells people stories all the time of like, even when I was a teenager, like I knew what I wanted in a woman. Like I wanted a down-to-earth girl who just wanted to just be chill, and like I wanted a wife and a family like as a teenager. And that's not common, especially in high school.
Yeah.
And so, you know, growing up,
especially not having seen that for himself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And a lot, you know, we had that conversation a lot when we had Cash about like, you know, he would say like, I don't understand guys who don't want to take care of their kids. And the excuse is like, well, I didn't have a dad. That should like motivate you the opposite direction. Like you should want to give your children. It's not about
you right now.
You should want to give your children everything that you never had, and by that you mean the father you never had.
Yeah.
And that's like been Travis's mission this entire time, ever since we had Cash, was just to make sure that Cash has the dad that Travis never had.
Well, see, remember, it goes back to that question I've asked you. What is it in a man who grew up without a father or without a father figure that clicks with them with either I'm going to give him, I'm going to be the dad that I never had, the best dad ever, or to continue to use that excuse of like, well, I never had a dad, so I don't know how to be a dad.
Yeah, which is what's the switch?
What would you want for yourself?
Right.
And I think I think it's selfish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to be selfless to want to be a good parent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or, I mean, maybe there's something else getting in the way of like self-actualization, basically. I think that a lot of men who are not in their kid's life are not aware of whatever it is that's keeping them.
Yeah.
And something I heard recently is that some men don't want to be in their kid's life because they don't want to be seen. And we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast before. They don't want to be in a serious relationship because they don't want to be seen for who they are, or they're ashamed of who they are. And so, you know, I've heard there was like a video recently that was like, if you want to see what you look like, look in the mirror. But if you want to see who you are, look at your kids. And so when you have children, they're a direct reflection of who you are.
Yeah.
So if men don't like who they are, then their children will trigger that in them, and that, you know, pulls them away from their children, basically.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And of course, that's probably not the case for every man or every situation, obviously, but just a little bit of insight of like kind of the psychology behind it. So we're talking about this, you know, wanting a female therapist. Maybe a male therapist would be really good. And he starts talking about, you know, I can just imagine now like going to meet the male therapist for the first time, shaking his hand and saying hello. And then like the first wrong vibe I get off of him, I'm completely shut down. And I was like, yeah, like, I wonder why you do that. Like why? And we started talking about like his trust issues, because we've talked about for a long time. He has a hard time trusting people. He has a hard time being able to be himself in front of other people. That's why he's very introverted. And we started talking about trust issues and stuff. And I said, you know, this is like a defense mechanism that you have. And I said, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like you're protecting yourself. But like over time, men or people in general have disappointed you, have let you down, have betrayed your trust. And so you're immediately to the shutdown. And then, so he started talking about like he does the same thing with like whenever he meets someone who he thinks could be a good father figure to him. And he notices that he does do that. Like there was a friend of his mom's, I won't say his name on the podcast, but there was a friend of his mom's that was like an older male figure that he did consider to be like an older male figure to him. Maybe not a father figure, but an older male figure that he could look up to or look to for protection or for guidance. Yeah. And he actually died last year.
Oh my God.
And I asked him, I'm like, did that affect you when you found out that he died? Because I didn't know that until he said that to me today, that he considered him like a male figure. And he goes, yeah, it really did affect me. And then he goes, I even did it with your dad, my dad. He said, I feel like when, me and your dad started being cool again, or like, not that they were ever not cool, but like started getting closer, like once we moved over close to them, I would like seek this male figure in him. And then if he just like gave one wrong vibe, I would shut it down. And I said, oh, I realize what that is now. I said, your inner child is looking for a father figure. And you seek it in people who seem like safe people. But then Big Travis is standing guard, waiting for someone to slip up. And then if somebody just gives you a slight like risk of disappointment or a slight risk of being let down or betrayed, Big Travis steps in and shuts it down. And we were both like basically in tears at this point. I was already crying before I said it to him because I knew it was going to make him upset. Not in a bad way, but like it's going to hit him hard, basically. Yeah. And so we talked about that for a minute. And I said, I told him a little bit more about like inner child stuff. Like, it makes sense that your inner child would want a father figure because your child self never did have that. And now that you're a father, it's even more important now that you have a father figure and you don't. And so, Big Travis, reasonably so, is trying to protect you from being disappointed just like you were when you were a child. Mm-hmm. I said, maybe that would be a good jumping point when you do go to therapy. Because like a lot of people, when they start therapy, they don't know where to start. Right. They're like, my life's a mess. I don't even know. Like and then therapists are like letting you lead. So then they just let you tell them about your day. And I said, maybe you could go in and be like, okay, this is something me and my wife have talked about that I think is really holding me back from a lot of things. Like, let's start with this. Because I don't know a lot about inner child. I mean, I know a little bit from what I've heard on podcasts and stuff. And now I feel like even more inclined to do more research about it because I'm so interested in psychology in general. Mm-hmm. But it just made me think like, we already know when you're growing up, everything that happens to you as a child, your adult self sees the world through that lens. That's why it matters so much that you grow up in a safe environment with people who believe in you, with people who you trust and who make you feel safe. Because if not, then when you're an adult, you have big adult person trying to protect inner child. And so I was just telling him, like, you should really start on that because that would really, like, free up so much for you. It may even make you a better dad, which he's an amazing dad. Like, he doesn't have a lot of room for improvement, but, like, you may be able to feel more connected with Cash after that. Like, I highly recommend you starting with that. And maybe even with a male therapist. Maybe if you met with a male therapist and you told him this off the jump, they'd be like, oh, well, then I need to be careful what I say. And they would know how to handle you. Yep. Yeah. Whoa.
Whoa.
And we have these talks every so often. It just happens randomly. Sometimes at very inconvenient times. Like I'm about to walk out the door and we have a freaking breakthrough. And I just wish, I wish I could be his therapist and like work him through all this stuff,
Yeah.
But I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about inner child stuff today. So here in a second, unless you have something else to talk about.
Well, I was going to say that, let
her get it out.
I don't know what I want to say. Well, okay. So in moving Mario in, he has a lot of things that make him happy, like pop figures and action figures and his PC setup and like all these, things that maybe I was told at one point were childish things. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so my initial thought was like when I first went to his apartment, I was like, oh, this is like very nerdy, very geeky.
Mm-hmm.
But in him moving in, you know, not that he has to, but he has asked me like, oh, is it okay if I do this or is it okay if I do that?
Right.
And I was like, yeah, of course. Like do that.
Yeah.
And then I even said there's a shelf in this room where his PC's at. I'm like, oh, you can put like your action figures there and your pops there. And like when he showed it to me when it was all done,
Yeah.
the smile on that man's face.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh yeah, his inner child
Yeah.
is smiling. Like this is what makes him happy. Like,
Right.
and I'm like, who am I to want to diminish that or
Yeah.
whatever? Like, you don't have to grow out of things if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case may be. If you think it's childish or childlike or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I buy stuffed animals and then I feel guilty sometimes, like, but I'm an adult. Like, why am I buying a stuffed animal? And I'm like, no,
There's
I like
no rules
it.
on this.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want it.
Well, just like today when I got here, we started doing arts and crafts. And like that
How
was
fun.
that was so therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
I mean, generally crafts are therapeutic for me, but I haven't been able to do them in a while because Cash would just ruin it. And he's not old enough to do crafts with me where we can do our crafts separately.
Mm-hmm.
He would want to ruin whatever I'm working on or whatever. So I was even telling my mom recently, we were at the store shopping and she was doing some Christmas shopping for Cash. And she was like, I see like marker sets and stuff sometimes. And I think to get them for you. And I was like, I would love that stuff. I would really, really love that stuff. And I'm glad that you think of me, but not yet. Wait till Cash is like 5.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna jump straight back into art and crafting and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I was crafting before I had Cash, I was very I was limiting myself a lot to like what looks good to other people and not what feels good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've matured enough now to where I feel like I would just do whatever feels good.
Yep.
And like whether that be like adult coloring or
Mhm.
like stuff that we did today with like lettering, like
Mhm.
lettering has always been my specialty and I love lettering.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to get back into that. But like same thing you were just talking about, like your inner child loves that stuff and it's okay to cater to what your inner child likes because your inner child's still in there
Mm-hmm.
and needs to be catered to.
Mm-hmm. And like we said, like, what did you say?
I don't know.
There's no rules to this.
Like you said. What did you say?
There are no rules to this. Like, especially if you grew up with very little as a child and now you have adult money.
Mhm.
Like,
That's what I was
do
going to say about
that.
Mario. Like maybe
Yeah.
he wasn't able to
Oh,
get this stuff when he was a kid.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now he like pours himself into that. And I love that. Like,
Yeah.
like I said, at first I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, there's
What
always
is all
going to be a
this?
preconceived notion because society makes you
Yeah.
think that it's not okay.
Yeah.
But there's a whole market for this. I mean, there's a brand new, Mario, if you're listening, there's a brand new toy store open at 38th and College that just does collectible toys like the ones that I'm looking at right now.
Ew.
So,
I like how they're mixed in with like his awards from his job.
yeah. What's the one with the old man on the front? It says his name on it, but there's a picture
Leadership.
of an old man.
It's a leadership award.
Maybe that's like the founder.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway.
Yeah, so do whatever your inner child wants to do. Like, do that.
Yep.
Whatever makes them happy
Absolutely.
will make you happy.
And I think a lot of our podcast has been talking about like breaking societal norms.
Yep.
And like every time I'm talking to someone where I can almost like pick up how they're limiting themselves. And I'll be like, why? Why does it have to be a limit? Like, why are you limiting yourself? What do you mean? Like, I'm trying to think of an instance recently with me and you. I feel like today, maybe even.
With me?
Yeah. Oh, well, this isn't exactly the same thing, but earlier today you were saying that you feel guilty when you wake up late.
Mm.
And I'm like, you're an adult. You can wake up late if you want to. Like,
I know.
do you have the stuff that you had to do? Is anybody going to be coming in like, you didn't get that done?
No.
Nope. You're only answering to yourself.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to take a break for a second and we'll be back with more inner child stuff, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good stay.
I don't know the word. That's why I was like,
I would only be in your way.
Be in your way.
Yeah, I don't remember the rest of it.
That was good.
That was pretty good.
Too bad I wasn't recording.
I was. I'll leave it. I'll leave it in there. Watch your feet.
I'm sorry.
I mean, you're not hitting it, but I'm just scared that you will. Oh.
Arr. There we go.
There we go. Okay.
There we go.
All right, we're back, and we're going to talk some inner child shit. But before we get into more sad shit, let's talk about how our inner child shows up in positive ways.
Ooh.
I know.
Haven't heard this one.
Thanks to ChatGPT.
Hey guys, did you know?
We have merch.
Like
Really nice and cheap merch.
really nice and cheap.
Like t-shirts are like $15.
$15.
And we have magnets for $5 and stickers for $5.
Yep.
That's the cheapest thing on the store. We also have phone cases, hoodies, hats. Do it for the matriarchy merch, which those t-shirts are around $15. So go check that out. You can find it in our link tree on our Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Or if you can't find it, just message us and we'll help you.
Get one for yourself, your mom, your dad, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your kids, your grandma, your grandpa, aunt,
Your
uncle,
brother, your
cousins.
sister. Everybody. All right, go check it out.
Okay, bye. Ooh, that's a good one. Praising. Sorry, tell me about how your inner child shows up positively.
Yeah, let's stop talking about the praise kink and move on to inner child.
We're going to cut all that out so now that doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll never know what we're talking about.
I'm just going to leave that part in from like the praise kink. All right.
Don't we all have a praise kink because of our inner child that we did not receive?
Most likely, yes. If you have a praise kink, it is due to your inner child.
Amen, sister.
All right. Positive ways your inner child show up. Playfulness. You embrace joy and fun, enjoying activities like games, hobbies, and creative endeavors without worrying about judgment. So we did some of that today, like we were just talking about. Some of Mario's things are his hobbies. 2, curiosity. You approach life with wonder and enthusiasm, asking questions and being open to learning new things. I actually just listened to a podcast recently about how when we're adults, we're like stripped of our curiosity, or like we're stripped of our... Oh, no, it wasn't a podcast. It was a friend of ours who made a post that was like, when we become adults, we're afraid to dream because it's like too far in the clouds. Like you're dreaming of things that you'll never accomplish. But it's like, why not dream of those things?
Be afraid to dream big without the fear of disappointment.
Be afraid to dream big. Is what you said.
Don't.
Don't be. I'll just cut in right before that with my voice and go, don't.
Said that so confidently.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
That shit could kill you.
Be very careful with whatever you decide in your life.
My God.
All right. The third one is imagination. You daydream, create art, and visualize possibilities, tapping into a boundless sense of creativity, which is what you were just telling us not to do.
Oh my God.
Nostalgia. I love nostalgia. Nostalgia is my favorite ja.
Ooh.
You find comfort in revisiting childhood memories, movies, music, or traditions that bring you happiness.
Yes.
I realized recently that my family had more traditions than I thought growing up. And some of them I have continued with Cash. Like one of them is that on Christmas morning, every Christmas morning, we would have cinnamon rolls for breakfast. And it was because it was something my parents could just throw in the oven and they would come out. We could just eat them rather than like cooking a full breakfast when we're trying to open presents and play with new things. So that's one thing that I've started. There was something else recently. We were at Kroger and they had a countdown. And it was like a clock kind of countdown to Christmas. And when we were kids, we had a chimney that had like a Santa figurine at the top. And it had slats in the chimney with numbers on them. And so every day for the days of December, you would pull a slat out until he was at the bottom of the chimney.
Oh.
Yeah. So like stuff like that. Like nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I would say probably movies for me.
Yeah, movies.
Especially around Christmas time.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love Christmas movies so much. Favorite Christmas movie, go.
The Grinch.
The Grinch, yes! That's mine too. I also love Elf and Home Alone.
Home Alone.
I've been trying to watch some of the older, like, Tim Allen movies, like the Santa Claus movies, Christmas with the Cranks.
I have yet to watch A Christmas Vacation, something Lampoon or something. I know it's a classic, but I haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it in a long time since I was a kid.
So it's on my list.
Christmas with the Cranks is good. And then I really love the Santa Claus movies. And then Polar Express. I don't love Polar Express, but I put it on for Cash the other day to see if I could get into it, and I didn't. But I like the mood, like the aesthetic of Polar Express more than the actual like theme of the movie or like the plot of the movie, I guess. Because it's very Christmassy. It's very the snow, the train, you know. Too much singing, though. There's a lot of singing in it that I don't remember. I also put on Alvin and the Chipmunks for Cash the other day, and he loved it. He watched it all the way from the beginning to the end.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am actually a fan of new Christmas movies. I love that shit. I love watching the new stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like, I know they're like very cheesy and it's the same thing, like Big City Girl, like
coming home for Christmas.
But yeah, and like gets, you know, falls in love with the guy. You know, I love it though. Like,
so have you seen Noelle with Anna Kendrick?
Yes.
Is it good?
Yes.
I've never seen it. But
I saw it once and I thought I did think it was The Princess Switch with Vanessa Hudgens. That's really good too. Oh my God, A Christmas Prince. That's really good too. She's a reporter that goes to, sorry, I'm going to botch this. She goes to a different country and she meets the prince and then they get married and then a princess.
Go ahead.
A Princess Switch. I forget how they all meet, but Vanessa Hudgens is in it. And basically it's a princess and who meets her doppelganger and she's tired of being a princess. She just wants to be a normal girl. So they switch and they have to like be switched back at some point.
That makes me think of Princess Diaries. I love Princess Diaries.
Princess Diaries. Oh my God.
Not a Christmas movie, but good movie.
I love those
I need to watch that again.
Me too.
Now with the adult lens, I wonder how that would be.
Yeah. We still have to watch Inside Out too, girl.
I know. And we need to go watch Wicked. I am more convinced now than ever to see Wicked.
Oh shit. Why?
I've just heard so many great things about it. And Ladies and Tangents did a review of it this week.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, me too.
I've never seen anything else.
Me either.
Which
I'm not a theater kid. I don't know any of the musical.
That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah. Commercials, everything. Target commercial.
I was going to say, it reminds me of the Tarzan screaming. Oh.
Yeah, it does. It does. But yeah, I do want to see that.
Okay.
And Inside Out too. We don't have to go to the movie theater for Inside Out too.
No.
Okay, next one. That was a long tangent. Nostalgia really got us going there.
It's my favorite kind of ja.
Nostalgia. Emotional vulnerability. You connect deeply with others, allowing yourself to feel and express emotions authentically. That is connected to your inner child. 6, wonder and awe. You feel a sense of amazement at nature, holidays, small moments of magic in everyday life.
That's why, like, I mean, I still do kind of a little bit. I used to do more as a kid. Like, as soon as I got my phone, I would take pictures of everything. And now, even I'll be like, oh my God, it's such a pretty flower. Or I like the way that this looks. Or I like the way that came out.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, I'm going to get a picture of it. But then I think, oh, that's dumb. Like,
yeah,
that's such a waste of a photo. But then I'm like, no, I want it. Like, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go take the picture.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, like, I'll almost walk away from it. And I'm like, no, I got to go back and take it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to regret it.
Totally agree. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Okay, here are a few things your inner child needs to hear. 1, I'm sorry you had to go through that alone. I think that's, I mean, let's just talk about that one alone. Let's just talk about that one. Like, you can imagine looking at your inner child, things that you went through that you didn't tell anybody about when you were a kid. Like when you're a kid, you're not supposed to go through things alone. You're supposed to be able to confide in your parents. But I'm sure many of us can relate to one way or another, one reason or another, not being able to confide in our parents about something because we're afraid of how they'd react, or, we feel shameful about whatever that thing is. We don't realize that it's normal. And that's sad. That's sad that our inner child had to go through something like that alone.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is, I will keep you safe and be here for you. So something like how I was just talking about with Travis, where his big person is trying to protect his little person. And that's a good thing. He should be doing that. But in some ways, it's holding him back.
Mm-hmm.
You have always been and always will be enough.
Oh.
You deserve to feel safe in relationships. Which, I'm sure many of us would have benefited from hearing that as a child. You deserve to feel safe in your relationships. Your voice matters and you matter. And it's okay to feel what you're feeling. I think all of those are beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I like the you're enough one.
Yeah. I think, and we'll talk about this here in a second with one of the posts that I saved. But a big indication that your inner child needs healing is that you're very people pleasing.
Mm.
And I'm guilty of it. Many people are guilty of it, especially women.
Mm.
And that is due to not feeling like you're enough as a child. That's due to feeling like you need to mold into what other people need from childhood.
Yep.
That's very, very, very common.
Mm.
So don't feel like you're alone in that if that's something you struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
10 signs your inner child needs hearing. Healing. What were we saying earlier when we couldn't talk? Oh, I said garlic. I said garlic. And then literally
markers.
30 seconds later, you said markers. It was the same syllable
Garlic.
we couldn't say.
Garlic.
The garlic took our ability to speak away. 10 signs your inner child needs healing. 1, unexplained anxiety. Okay, we were just talking about that with Travis. 2, people-pleasing at expense of well-being. 3, low self-worth or self-esteem. 4, difficulty setting healthy boundaries. Let's pause on that one for a second. Difficulty setting healthy boundaries. The opposite of being able to set a healthy boundary is people-pleasing.
Yep. I had an example of that with my mom. Still to this day.
Yeah. I can relate. Emotional reactivity.
Love you, Mom. Sorry.
Emotional reactivity to minor triggers.
Yep. What?
I was just thinking about a conversation on the phone the other night.
Us?
Mm-hmm. We were literally talking about triggers the other night.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. What about it?
Nothing.
Oh.
Signs that your inner child needs healing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Perfectionism or fear of making mistakes. Looking at you over there.
That's me.
Avoidant behaviors. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a raven. That's me.
That's me.
Addictive behaviors to numb emotions.
Oh, yep.
Self-sabotaging behaviors.
Oof.
Issues with trust and difficulty feeling safe in relationships. Let's see. Okay. Here are 8 inner child wounds.
Oh. Inner child wounds?
Yes.
Oh, no. Mine's 8 ways to heal your inner child.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. 1, abandonment. The abandonment wound stems from receiving nothingness from a loved one, whether feeling invisible or completely left by an absent parent. This wound may leave you feeling empty and invisible. 2, neglect. The neglect wound stems from emotional and physical neglect where a child's emotional needs go unmet. This lack of support can leave a deep sense of unworthiness and disconnection, making it difficult to trust others. As adults, those with this wound may struggle with forming healthy attachments and often feel undeserving of love or care. That one with Travis, bad. Like, really, as adults, those with this wound may struggle with forming healthy attachments. He struggles with that bad. I want to read that to him later. Or he can listen to my podcast. 3, betrayal. The betrayal wounds forms when a trusted individual breaks promises or violates trust, leaving a lasting emotional impact. This wound often leads to deep trust issues, causing fear of vulnerability and difficulty in building healthy relationships. As adults, those with a betrayal wound may struggle with control, fear of deception, and hesitation in fully opening up to others. 4, invalidation. The invalidation wound occurs when a person's thoughts or feelings or experiences are consistently dismissed or minimized, leaving them feeling unseen or unheard. This can result in difficulty expressing emotions, trusting their own perceptions, and a tendency to seek external validation in relationships. Over time, it can erode self-worth and confidence. Whoa. I mean, if that's not the center of everything we've ever talked about, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Whoa.
Let me just read part of that again. This can result in difficulty expressing emotions, trusting their own perceptions, and a tendency to seek external validation in relationships. Over time, it can erode self-worth and confidence.
What was the wound?
Invalidation. I mean, I think even on early episodes, we've always said, like, and a lot of this is like middle child syndrome, being invalidated, like, oh, your feelings don't matter, or they just don't matter right now because there's other busier things going on with your younger sibling or older sibling. Ball. And then my voice.
I thought you were about to cry.
And then an abusive relationship that was 10 years of invalidation. How do you feel about that?
I do think that my childhood is partially to blame for why I was so susceptible to the relationship that I was in. Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, that sucked.
It sucked real bad.
That shit sucked real bad.
Yeah. But like I can remember like I always said, like, my mom was just so busy with everyone else that I tried so hard to not be a problem, to not, need her attention.
Yeah.
And it backfired, but go ahead.
You trying so hard to not need her attention is invalidating yourself. You invalidated yourself as well by saying, like, nope, you don't need her. You don't need her help. Your problem's not big enough.
Yeah. I remember, like, now that you bring that up, I had fainted and was taken to the hospital. And I feel like that was probably the first time I felt my mom's full attention.
Wow.
And I was a freshman in high school.
Wow. I bet that felt good too.
Yeah.
Like your inner child was like.
And then I had my jaw surgery, and like I'm Kelsey, I'm telling you, like I literally thought my mom did not love me. Like I did not feel that.
After
I did
your
not
jaw
feel
surgery, or you did feel it?
No, I felt it at my jaw surgery. So the attention was when I was a freshman, and then the jaw surgery would have been junior year of high school.
Wow.
I was like, why is she crying?
I'll
be right back.
Yeah. She doesn't love me anyway. Why would she cry about this?
Why? Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful.
Much older.
Yeah. Rejection. The rejection wound stems from feeling unwanted, or dismissed by parents, peers, caregivers, or authority figures. This can lead to deep-seated self-worth and self-esteem issues, making it difficult to form healthy relationships and often triggering a fear of abandonment or further rejection in adulthood. 6, physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. Experiencing emotional, physical, or sexual abuse can leave deep psychological scars, often leading to conditions like anxiety, depression, PTSD, and personality disorders. These wounds can impact a person's sense of safety, trust, and self-worth, making it challenging to navigate relationships in daily life. That one's a given. Like, of course that affects who you are in your adult life.
Yeah.
Parental role reversal. Parental role reversal occurs when a child is forced to take on adult responsibilities, often leaving them overwhelmed and deprived of a typical childhood. This can lead to long-term issues with boundaries, self-care, and difficulty embracing vulnerability or playfulness in adulthood. Wow. And 8, grief/loss. The grief/loss wound occurs when a child experiences significant losses such as death of a loved one or a dissolution of a family. These early losses can lead to deep feelings of abandonment, difficulty trusting others, and struggles with processing grief later in life. Whew, that's crazy. Something that came up while I was reading that was sometimes when I'm talking to people about why someone acts a certain way when they're an adult, I sometimes say to them, like, someone failed them as a child. And what I mean by that is someone caused them neglect. Someone caused them invalidation. Someone caused them abandonment. Someone caused them abuse. Like, someone affected their childhood so badly that now, as an adult, they have unworked on trauma. They have wounds that they have not healed, and they may not even be aware of. Yeah. And so that's kind of the whole purpose of something we talked about very early on in the podcast with, like, when someone is behaving badly towards you, the first thing you need to do is have compassion for them, even though it's very hard. You don't know what it is that their inner child is struggling with. You don't know what wounds, who failed them as a child. And I just see the whole world through that lens now. I saw a video on social media recently of a child in the store. She was probably like 11, 12 maybe. And she was just going through the store, like knocking everything off the shelves, like going everything, like just tearing shit up, like in a Walmart. And someone was recording it. And I don't know who her caregivers were, like if they were with her or not, if they were foster parents, if they were her real parents. They didn't have her same skin tone. And of course, they could be her biological parents. I don't know, but it was 2 women. And they were having a hard time keeping control of her. Now, besides the fact that we don't know if this child was on the spectrum or had some other disability, if this child was not a disabled child and was just acting out like this, most people looking at that video would be like, oh my God, what a bad child. Like, they need a whooping. Like, they need to be whooped. They need to, whoever their parent is, is not doing right by them or whatever, what have you. But when I saw that video, I saw a child that had been failed. That child got failed very badly somewhere. Because kids don't just act like that because they want to be assholes. Mm-hmm. Kids act like that when they don't know how to process their trauma, when they don't have an outlet, they don't have a safe person, they don't have anywhere for that stuff to go. Mm-hmm. And so I actually comment on the video, I'm like, somebody failed her. Somebody seriously failed her. Kids don't just act like that because they want to be assholes. Mm-hmm. That's just not how it works. So a little food for thought before you judge children in public.
I was going to say, I think working in a childcare made me so empathetic to behavior in children that I'm realizing now that I had. Like, at the time, as a kid myself, I'm glad that I was so empathetic towards them and I wasn't very judgmental. Like, I remember I was taking care of like 5 and 6 year olds, and there's this kid, and he was your typical troublemaker. We were doing group things and he would be off doing other things, not, what have you,
yeah.
Like you said earlier.
Yeah.
And I remember being like 17 years old and just being like, okay, this kid just needs something to do.
Yeah.
So like I would make him like leader. Like I would make him like, hey, you need to make sure that everyone's here. So like obviously this is like a 5 or a 6-year-old, so you can't give them a whole lot.
Right.
But like, hey, you know, make sure they're here. Like here, this is a checklist. Like
Yep.
make sure they're like, make them feel like
they're doing something that's important.
exactly,
Yes.
so that they don't have the
urge
to go and do whatever, because that's what they need. They
Right.
need something to do, and so they'll just go and find something.
Especially
to
if
do.
they feel important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just noticed like a change in him, and he just became more manageable, I guess you can say.
Well, and so this is a great example, because if you think about how many adults before you would just yell at him to sit down,
Yup.
would just yell at him or make him feel stupid or make him feel embarrassed for needing something to do. And you were the one person who saw him for who he was and what he actually needed. And that I can't even put into words how important it is for kids to have at least one adult in their life, and it doesn't have to be their parent, who sees them for who they are and what their needs are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just cannot even explain how important that is. And I mean, you can tell how important that is based off of the abandonment wounds that the inner child wounds that we just read. If the children who went through these wounds just had one adult to say, I see you and I see what you need and I'm going to give that to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, life-changing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that we can do now as adults, is look at our inner child and say, I see what you needed back then and I'm going to give it to you. Maybe we'll talk about that here in a minute when we get to that. Whew. Great conversation, guys. Glad we did this episode. Okay, how to validate your inner child. Say things you wish your parents had told you. We did this recently.
Dude, well, the first time my parents told me that they were proud of me was like, I think I was just about to like graduate college or something. And I yelled at my parents. I'm like, you don't tell me you're proud of me. Of course we're proud of you. You think we're not? I need to hear you say it.
So you had to instigate it out of them.
Yes, I need to hear you say it.
Right.
Same thing for I love you.
Yeah.
I was probably an adult at this time when my parents first told me that for sure I was an adult. For sure. Like early 20s.
Yeah.
I need to hear you say it.
Right. Why would you think I don't need to hear you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell Cash I love him 100 times a day. And I'll continue doing that until I'm dead. So
I need to hear you say it.
Absolutely. We did an exercise like this recently. Do you remember?
Nope. Oh.
We recorded it, but we didn't put it on the pod.
Yeah, I sure did.
I asked you questions like, what would you say to teenager Angelica right now? Or what would you say to, little baby Angelica right now?
Yeah.
Or, things like that.
Do we still have that?
I'm sure I still
Did we record it?
I uploaded it somewhere for you. It's probably in the drive.
Huh.
Yeah, I think it's in the drive.
Okay.
Hopefully I didn't lose it. Next one is tell him or her what happened wasn't their fault. That's another thing we did recently too. Without going into too much detail, and we can cut this if you want. We talked about in this same conversation, tell young Angelica that this was not her fault. And you're like, but it was my fault. I could have prevented it. And I'm like, you can't prevent things that you didn't know are going to happen. And I think a lot of adults get stuck in this cycle, which is why I wanted to bring this up, of like, oh, it's my fault because I could have prevented it. And I think what I said to you was like, if you need to go take a plane somewhere, you don't know that plane's going to crash. So then if the plane crashes, are you going to blame yourself for getting on the plane? Like some people would blame themselves for getting on the plane, but you can't prevent something that you did not know was going to happen. Now, if you knew that plane was going to crash, that somebody was going to crash it and you got on it, then yes, that's your fault. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know what's going to happen, you cannot prevent it. And if you can't prevent it, then it's not your fault. And even some things, I will venture to say, even some things that you could have prevented are still not your fault. So hopefully that helps someone out there that is listening. Next one is tell your inner child you are here for him or her and you won't leave. So that goes back to the abandonment wound. Let your inner child know that their feelings are valid and you're listening. So validation. Give your inner child the chance to feel anything without judgment. I know that's hard for a lot of us because, like we were just saying, like we're our biggest inner critic. Like, you know, you waking up late today, like you were shaming yourself for that. Mm-hmm. But like, it doesn't matter if you woke up late. Like, you have to try to filter out the things that actually matter and things that don't. Ask your inner child if there are any feelings they are willing to share. That's interesting.
Oh my.
Visualize a safe space for your inner child. That's the last one.
My house. That's been a safe space for me.
Yep. My house too.
Being alone and just literally this whole house could be quiet and it's so healing for me.
Yeah. Well, and you grew up in such a loud household.
Yes.
Loud because there's a lot of people and loud because there's a lot of fighting.
A lot of yelling, a lot of arguing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in that household too. As I've said on this podcast before.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just yelling all the time in my house.
All the time.
All
for really no reason.
The time. And like, I don't know what it's like to have 4 kids, right? I don't know what it's like to, I mean, I'm sure my mom had things too. Like, she probably felt not heard.
Yeah.
Not respected.
Yep.
So she felt like she needed to be loud and like,
yeah.
Unfortunately, that really pushed for me to want to stay in my room, you know, not build those early connection to my parents or to my siblings or whatever, like, or wanted to go out with my friends and do things that I wanted to do away from that.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, especially when we were teenagers, like we were trying to take every opportunity to get out of the house. And I mean, we were just sitting at the mall doing the same thing, but we were just not in the house. Yeah.
I want to ask my mom, like, you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure she'll have a reason. Like, I'm not trying to invalidate her reasoning. I'm just saying, like, that was my childhood. Is yelling.
Yelling. Yeah. Lots of yelling. This one says, ways to reparent yourself as an adult. Silence the inner critic. Speak to yourself with compassion and kindness. If you need to hear about that, go back to our compassion episode. Accepting your emotional reactions, whatever they are. Not shaming yourself for having feelings. Celebrating all your wins. Celebrating all your wins without minimizing them. Without being like, well, you know, I didn't do this right.
The test wasn't that hard.
Yeah. Or like, well, I did also fuck this up, so it doesn't count. Asking yourself what you need and giving it to yourself. Release self-blame. Release self-blame. Allowing room for mistakes without judgment. Creating a safe space for yourself and enforcing healthy, strong boundaries. All right. And then the last one I have is I'm sorry to my inner child. I'm sorry you felt like you had to be perfect just to be accepted. Love shouldn't have been something you had to earn. I'm sorry you learned to stay quiet to keep the peace. You deserve to be heard without fear. I'm sorry you felt invisible when you needed someone to truly see you. Your feelings and dreams deserve to be noticed. I understand now that those protector parts, your mind, your body, stepped in because they believed that they had to. They held onto tension, guarded your heart, and shielded you in every way they could. I'm grateful for all the ways they kept you safe. I see you now. I'm so sorry that in my efforts to fix you, I only reinforced the shame you carried. I see now all the ways that I abandoned you, just as the adults around you did. You were never broken. You were always whole, always worthy, and deserving of love. As I look back and imagine you in front of me, I'd tell you, I'm so proud of you for all the ways you survived, for the ways you found light, even in dark times, and kept going when it felt impossible. From now on, I promise to check in with you, to listen and to care for you with all the love you always deserved. You are safe now with me. I hear you. I see you. I love you exactly how you are. something I want to go back to on that, it's playing music, is you are always whole, always worthy, and always deserving of love. Going back to when I said, like, for every kid that's acting out, for every kid that you notice is just a little bit different, some adult failed them. When adults fail children in that way, of any of those wounds we talked about, the message that they're driving to them is that they are not whole, that they are not worthy, and they are not deserving of love, that they're broken, and that they deserve to be abandoned, that they deserve to be invalidated. And none of those things are true. They're children. We were children who did not deserve to feel those things.
I think some adults think that a child's feelings don't matter. Mm-hmm. Like they're not
big enough.
Kids. They're not big enough.
Mm-hmm.
They don't wait
Their
till
worries are not big enough.
Exactly. Wait till you get to the big world. That's when you'll really, well, I may not get there because the way you're making me feel right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and something I learned just in the beginning of parenting is like, you have to remember that, you know, your child losing their teddy bear seems like the end of the world to them because they've never had a worry bigger than that. Mm-hmm. This is their whole world.
That was a lot with my mom too. And I told her that I can't have a bad day because you've had a worse day. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can't just tell you, I can't come home and tell you like, I failed this test or I was really struggling here. And it's like, okay, well, my back hurts and I've done this and I need to come home and clean. And okay. Yeah, you're right. My shit obviously doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, exactly. You need to remember that this is a big deal to them. Right. This is the worst thing that's happened to them yet.
Right. This is literally their worst nightmare. The worst thing that's ever happened to them in their short life so far. So, of course, they don't have the worries that you have, or they don't see that this is small in your eyes because they haven't had the worries that you've had yet. Mm-hmm. And they shouldn't until they're older. Mm-hmm. And your worries are not their burden either. So, like what you were saying with your mom, her worries were not your burden. She should not have put her worries back to you. Yeah. Like, well, you should just be thankful that you don't have my worries. Yeah. Because now you're worried, like, well, now I can't even go to my mom because she's having a horrible day.
Exactly. Exactly. I was also going to say, you are your past versions. Right. You know, you may be 30 and 28, but at one point we were 20 and 18. You know what I mean? Like 14 and 12. You know, all those past versions of yourself, you are still there. Yeah. Yeah. You're still them. They're still there. Yep. Those feelings can come up at literally any time. Yep. And even something that I've had to discuss with Kelsey is, you know, and I think we've seen other podcasts talk about this, like after you get out of an abusive relationship, yes, take the time to heal. Take the time to be alone and do some self-reflection and get to know yourself and all that stuff. But you'll never finish healing until you get into that healthy relationship because that's when you'll be triggered and you'll learn how to handle them. Right.
And in the healthy way.
Yeah. So
matching their healthy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because these are my past versions in the past, or this is bringing up this feeling from childhood or this feeling from a past relationship. And now it's being brought up to this healthy relationship. How are we going to navigate that? Right. How are we going to soothe my inner child? Yep. How do we move past that? Because it was never fixed or heard before until now. Mm-hmm. And that shit is hard.
Yeah. It is. It's very hard. But yeah. I think that's...
I mean, you pretty much got everything that I had.
Okay.
I mean, it was get in touch with your inner child, but it like talks about more practice self-compassion, allow yourself to feel, identify key events in your life, draw links between past and present, challenge negative thoughts, and try journaling and seek professional mental health help.
So to our listeners that are listening right now, think of something that your inner child would really enjoy right now. Is it a tradition from the holidays coming up? Is it a hobby? Is it some form of creativity? Is it a song, a movie? What is it that your inner child would love today? Like just right now, that you could give it right now and go do that. And then let us know what it was in the comments.
Yeah, we challenge you to
We
satisfy
challenge
your
you,
inner child.
motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding.
That sounded really weird. We challenge you to make your inner child happy.
What did you say?
Satisfy your inner child.
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
satisfy the needs of your inner child.
Yes, identify them and satisfy them.
Anyway, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. It was very impromptu because of a conversation I had with Travis earlier today. If you also struggle with some of the same things that I talked about that Travis is struggling with, please comment, let us know, or send us a message. We really love getting feedback from you guys where you're telling us that you're going through the same thing or that you can relate to something we talked about. I mean, it just keeps us going. So if you have something you want to tell us. We'll reply to you in the messages. So
please.
Don't forget to go over to our merch store and, maybe head over to YouTube and like, comment, share, subscribe, over to our TikTok. I mean, TikTok is kind of the key to us blowing up. So
did you hear that it's getting banned?
TikTok's getting banned for sure.
I thought
they talked about that in like 2021 or something.
Oh, I heard in start of January. We can cut all that out.
Okay. Head over to TikTok, show us some love on TikTok so that we can maybe, go viral or something. That'd be nice.
Or something.
That'd be our nice little Christmas present, going viral on TikTok. But yeah, so we'll see y'all next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.